that as I get deeper into what I'm talking about with Bugsy Siegel. So Bugsy really started off as a petty thug on the streets of Brooklyn. He formed his first gang as a teenager, extorting push carts and, storefront owners in Brooklyn to pay protection money to him. He would threaten them, of course, if they didn't, or maybe beat them up or whatever it may be, kind of like what you see in the movies and stuff like that. Around 1918 was when he really started getting into life of crime as far as a career for Bugsy. And this is when he met his future business partner, and I guess you could say he was his friend, Meyer Lansky, who is really the Jewish godfather of organized crime. And they formed what was called the Bugs and Meyer mob. And this is really Bugsy's first taste of the rackets. They started off stealing cars and other smaller petty crimes on a larger scale. And with with liquor being illegal during the beginning of Prohibition, they made lots of money bootlegging. And this really lasted through the 20s. And Meyer was the more mellow, business-minded one of the two, while Bugsy was the more ill-tempered, strong-arm type of the top of that mob. And at some point during the 20s, they really got in touch with, of course, the infamous Italian mafia boss, Lucky Luciano. And they were both still young. They were called the Young Turks at the time. They weren't really the top dogs of New York City quite yet. There were, most importantly, two Italian mafia figures by the names of Salvatore Maranzano and Joe the Boss Mazzaria, who these Young Turks, like Bugsy, Meyer, Lucky Luciano, they really, on the low, they despised him. They were called Mustache Pete's, these two guys, and there were many like them. They believed in old ways of thinking about, as far as organized crime goes. They were kind of racist. They didn't believe that Italians could work with other races like, Lucky was doing with his Jewish buddies, Meyer and Bugsy. So they kind of on the low plotted to take these guys out. And Bugsy was a key player in that, most notably taking part in the assassination of Joe the Boss Mazzaria in 1931 in Coney Island, one of the most famous mob hits of all time. And this is really in the midst of the Castellammarese War, where we would, at the end of that